the blood of Jesus. It's nothing but the blood of Jesus, my Jesus.
To get to go there, except to love the Lord your God. Same situation. These people hadn't bought the promised land. They didn't deserve the promised land. God, through His mercy and through His love, was going to let them enter the promised land. Now, are you with me? The promised land, heaven. The Israelites, Christians, followers of God, those who love God with all their heart. You shall remember that the Lord your God led you all the way these 40 years in the wilderness to humble you and test you. Does God test you? How many of you feel like you've been tested by God? All right, hang in there with me. To know what's in your heart. Why does He test you? Why does He test you? To find out what you really are. Are you with me? I want you to be with me on this. Do you ever test your husband, women? Huh? Did you ever test them? Yes, you have. Why did you test them? You wanted to know what they really thought about you, didn't you? Whether they really loved you or not. Whether they had another chick on the side. And men, we test our wives, don't we? You know we do. Why? Because we want to know, do they really, really, really love us? And not a lot of people pass those tests, do they? In America today, what is it? 2/3 of the couples that are married are ending up divorced. A lot of failures of the test. All right, I'm going on because I've got a lot I want to cover here. God did these things to humble us and to test us and to know what was in our hearts. He wanted to know whether we would keep His commandments or not. That's what He wanted to know. Can I count on you? Can I count on you? When the going gets tough, can I count on you? When I really need a friend, can I count on you? Take your hand, if you will, and count the people that you know that if you needed somebody that you could really, truly depend on, would be there for you. Just try that sometime. Say, now, boy, they would do anything they could to help me out. And I think one hand in most people's lives would be all you needed. How many times have you really thought someone was your friend? And then, whammo. If it came to promotions at work, or, they got the job you wanted, or you got the job they wanted. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You got to making more money than they did. Maybe you got prettier than they were. All right. God humbled you. He allowed you to hunger. He fed you with manna, which was a humbling experience, which you did not know, nor did your fathers know, that he might make you know that man does not live by bread alone. You don't live by the things of this world. You don't live for the things of this world. You got that? God gave them these tests. Your garments did not wear out on you, nor did your foot swell these 40 years. I can imagine the ladies having to wear the same pair of shoes for 40 years. I have to kick my way into the closet. How many shoes, how many pair of shoes really does the average lady have? These people just had one pair. How many change of clothes? What if you had to wear the same old thing every day? Well, they did. God did this as a test. What if God tested you and said, you're going to wear that sucker for 6 months, every day, that plaid dress. Now listen, God works in mysterious ways. You should know in your heart that as a man chastens his sons, so the Lord your God will chasten you. What does that mean? What does that mean? Does it mean God's just going to bless you and let you be a gutter-sucking bum? Do whatever you want to do, ever how you want to do it, and God's going to say, well done, thou good and faithful servant. Is that what God's going to do? Or is he going to whip you? How many of you have been whipped by the Lord? Be honest now. You ain't paralyzed. He said, if you're my child, I'll whip you. Did you know that? Did you know he said that? If you're my child. If you didn't get whipped and you can't raise your hand, you may have a problem. He said, if you're my child, and you do wrong, I'll whip you. I'll chasten you. Now, God can whip in ways that really hurts. I've got my oldest son here today, and he can tell you that he got a little hickory tree tea along. Done him good. And when I chastened him for one reason. I loved him. See? And I didn't want him to grow up to be sorry. I didn't want him to be enabled. So many parents today are afraid to chasten their child. Because they're afraid of DSS, and they're afraid of this and that and something else. Brandon went to school one day, and the DSS worker was there, and she said, if any of you children have been whipped by your daddy, all you got to do is tell me. And he told her. And I got a letter from the teacher that afternoon, said, Brother Wilson, I just want to say one thing. Give him some more. That's the truth. If you don't want to be whipped, what did you do? What did you do? If you didn't want your parents to chasten you, what did you do? You kept their commandments, didn't you? You did what they told you to do. And that's what God says. Therefore, you shall keep the commandments of the Lord your God. You shall walk in his ways, and you shall fear him. Now see, these are things we've lost in America. We've lost them. People use God's name. They don't respect God. They don't worship God. They don't love God. And then they say, I don't know what's wrong. I just don't understand. I saw on the news this morning a child, what was he, 12 years old or something, got killed in Columbia, got shot. I mean, and that's not something that you say, well, wow. That's something you say, once again. Once again. Abuse, abuse. Why? Because we're not putting God where he belongs. I'm going on quickly. For the Lord your God is bringing you to a good land, and a land of brooks of water, of fountains and springs that flows out of the valleys and the hills. I'm going to give you some wonderful things. Now, this is where it really gets down to business. I'm really just getting started. I'm bringing you to a land of wheat and barley and vines and fig trees and pomegranates, a land of olive oil, a land of honey, a land in which you will eat bread without scarcity, in which you will lack nothing, a land whose stones are iron, and out of whose hills you can dig copper, When you've eaten and are full, then you shall bless the Lord your God for the good land which he's given you. Now, but verse 11. Beware that you do not forget the Lord your God. Don't forget where your blessings come from. Don't forget where you were when you met the Lord. I was in my office this week and a guy called and he's a pain. Really. I've tried to help him for years and he's a pain in the neck. And he said, I really need help. I'm homeless. I'm down and out. And I said, well, let me see what I can work out. I'll try to find a way to help you. And some more people were sitting in the office and they said, why would you help him again? You know. He's lied on me. He's abused me. He definitely is not one of the success stories that I could tell. And they said, why would you help him again? And I thought about it. And I said, because but for the grace of God, that could be me. How many times has God helped me when I didn't deserve it? And how many times have I failed God and he forgave me? You know? Don't forget where God brought you from. Don't forget where you were when you met the Lord. That's dangerous. And that's what these people would do. God would just pour out blessings all over them. And they sit back and eat the fat calf and eat the fancy food, and they had plenty of gold and plenty of silver and plenty of money, and they drove them fancy cars and lived in them big houses, but they forgot where it came from. Every good and perfect gift comes from God. And they forgot. They couldn't remember back when they was gutter-sucking bums. They forgot. Where would you be if Jesus didn't love you? Where would you be if Jesus didn't care? Beware that you do not forget the Lord your God by not keeping his commandments, his judgments, and his statutes, which I command you today, lest when you have eaten and are full and have built beautiful houses. Did you know this was in the Bible? Lest when you have eaten and are full, have built beautiful houses, and dwell in them, when your herds and your flocks multiply, your silver and your gold are multiplied, all that you have is multiplied. When your heart is lifted up, and you forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. America's forgotten God. we're fat cats. We're fat cats. He's blessed us so much that we don't know what to do with it. Where I live, you can drive around the street, and every garage is full. They haven't been blessed with just what they needed. Every garage is full. God has given you more than you know what to do with it. I'm 72, soon be 73. One of the burdens of my life is, what am I going to do with what God has blessed me? That's one of my burdens. I want to put it in missions. I want to put it in funds. I want to build the promised land to a more successful place, you know, but it's a burden. And then I've got all these grandchildren coming on. You know, what am I going to do with them? Finances can become a burden. But don't forget who gave it to you. Don't forget where you was and where you would be if Jesus didn't love you. That's what's happened to America. That's what happened to Israel. And you say, well, I'll give this to my child, and I'll give this to my child, and then you look around and you say, but man, it'll probably ruin them. Richest man in America, I guess, said the other day, he said, I'm not going to give my children anything. What's his name? Bill? No. What is it? Warren Buffett. So I'm not going to give them anything. Said, I don't want to destroy their lives. How many lives of children have I seen destroyed by parents giving them stuff? And they didn't appreciate or know how to handle the gift. And that's what's happening in America. Say, God, you're just so blessed. What do you need? What do you need? He's just opened the windows of heaven and poured out blessings on us so great we can't receive them. And what do? Preacher asks them, say, oh, please give your 10% to the Lord. I don't have to do that. Well, it'd be like they were in the days of the Old Testament when they gave so much that they said, we got a problem, we don't know what to do with all this money. The gold, the silver. They plated I told them this week, I said, I wish we had enough gold to plate that communion table. Gold, somebody said, well, they'd break in here and steal it. I'm going to tell you, when you really get down to business, it's when you're laying there and you don't know if you're going to see the sun rise in the morning. And your heart's carrying on, and your livers are quivering, and You know? Huh? That's when you really get down to business. And you say, God, if I don't make it till tomorrow, am I going to be right? Have I been a faithful servant? I've had a few nights like that. If you haven't, you will. You will. Don't forget. Please don't forget. Don't be a part of an America that does not love the Lord your God with all your heart. That's what freedom is. That's what freedom is. You love the Lord your God with all your heart, and He takes care of your every need, and He gives you your every blessing. And He puts the sunshine in your eyes and the sparkle in your heart and makes a life worth the living. Or you can be like Silas Marner. See, not many of you are old enough to remember Silas Marner. How many remember him? Nobody? Desi? Silas Marner didn't know what love was till a little child come into his life. And he found out what made life worth the living. Do you know Jesus? Have you forgot that He was there when you needed Him? Do you think you've reached the point you don't need Him anymore? Have you done that? Can you remember that but for the grace of God, there goes I. Don't ever forget that.